Sometimes, the silence grows teeth. Not all voices are meant to be heard, and not all echoes belong to the living. This is episode 6. The place has changed again, though the doors remain the same. And Eliza is beginning to understand. It's not the house that's haunted, it's her reflection in it. This is The Door Beneath by Ceri Clarke.
The house was waiting. I felt it the moment I returned from the village. The weight of it, the way it pressed in around me. It had always breathed in its own way, the timbers shifting, the stone walls holding memory. But today, something had changed. Something was awake. 3 days had passed since I'd encountered the Book of Annwn, since I'd spoken with Mrs. Hughes about the realms beneath realms. 3 days of uneasy dreams filled with geometries that shouldn't exist, with voices that spoke in harmonies beyond human hearing. The transformation I had undergone, becoming a nexus between human, cedar, and the architects of Annwn, had altered my perception. I could see the layers now, the strata of reality stacked like geological formations, each with its own consciousness, its own agenda. But something else was stirring, something that existed outside the pattern I had glimpsed. I placed my hand against the wooden door before opening it, half expecting a pulse beneath my fingers, a heartbeat in the grain. The threshold resisted, just for a moment, and then it gave way. The air inside was thick, stale. The fire had burned out in my absence, leaving only the scent of cold ash. The book sat where I had left it, undisturbed on the desk in the study. The leather cover gleamed in the dim light, the spiral symbol seeming to pulse as my gaze fell upon it. I had written its pages as instructed, recording my journey for whoever would come next. But I knew better now. I had read the words. I had seen what waited beneath the farmhouse, beneath the land itself, and now the book was merely a vessel, a messenger. The true call came from below. The cellar door was open. It hadn't opened since Annwn. I had never found a key, never felt the lock give way beneath my searching hands. But now the trapdoor lay ajar, the iron ring winking in the dim light, inviting me down into darkness that seemed blacker than the absence of light should allow. I stepped forward, my breath shallow. I did not choose to descend. I was pulled. The steps were damp beneath my feet, worn smooth by time, by passage. I braced a hand against the wall, feeling the cold sweat of the stone. The air grew heavier the further I went, thick with the scent of wet earth and something metallic, something like rust, something like blood. My new awareness, the expanded perception granted by my transformation in Annwn, revealed layers of memory embedded in the stone. Handprints from centuries ago, emotions trapped like fossils in amber, fear predominant among them, but also reverence, anticipation, surrender. The cellar was small, a single low room, stone-lined, used for storage. But as I reached the bottom of the stairs, I realized the room had changed. No longer a dead end, no longer a simple space beneath the house. A tunnel stretched beyond, yawning, dark and wet, disappearing into the earth. Its walls glistened with moisture that caught what little light filtered from above, creating patterns like constellations. I exhaled sharply. My breath did not echo. Something was swallowing the sound. I ran my fingers along the stone, tracing grooves, indentations, not natural erosion, not wear from time. Symbols. The same spirals that had appeared in the Book of Annwn, the same sigils that had marked the standing stones. But these were different, incomplete, fractured, like something had tried to erase them, or like they were being rewritten, letter by letter, into a language I almost recognized. A memory surfaced, unbidden, Mrs. Hughes's warning. The bindings were always temporary. The seal weakens. The pattern continues. I pressed my palm against one of the carved spirals. A shudder ran through the stone, a vibration deep beneath my feet. The symbol warmed under my touch, then began to glow with a faint blue light that spread to neighboring sigils, illuminating the tunnel ahead. And the whispering began. It did not come from the tunnel ahead. It came from behind me. I turned sharply. breath-catching. The cellar steps stretched upward, impossibly long, as though I had descended far deeper than I should have. The farmhouse door above was a speck of light, distant and unattainable. And there, in the shifting darkness between myself and the way out, something moved. Tall, unnaturally thin, another faceless one. Not the herald who had helped me remember my nature as a seeder. Not the guide with star-filled eyes who had led me to Annan. This was something else. A watcher left behind. A remnant of the old binding, waiting for the moment it could step forward again. Its form flickered like a candle flame in a draught, edges uncertain, as if it existed in multiple places at once. I could see through it, past it, to other versions of the same tunnel, some flooded with seawater, others coated in ice, others still consumed by writhing roots, versions of what might have been, or what might yet be. The whispering rose in intensity, not spoken aloud but within my skull, curling behind my ears, filling the spaces between thoughts. You should not have come. I swallowed against the weight of it, my throat dry. I didn't have a choice. You never did. The shadows rippled, and the watcher stepped forward. I knew it was not human, not even close, but it moved in a way that mimicked humanity, a learned behavior, a mockery. Yet there was something hauntingly familiar about its movements, an echo of myself, perhaps, or of others who had walked this path before me. It slid through space, as if the normal constraints of physicality were mere suggestions. You were left behind, I said, when the binding changed. The whispering swelled, a tide of sound that now carried harmonics I could perceive with my expanded senses, layers of meaning beneath the words. The binding did not change. It adapted. I shook my head. No, I rewrote it. The pattern has shifted. I merged the cedars with humanity, created a nexus between worlds. A pause. The faceless head tilted slightly, and then, impossibly, it smiled. Not with a mouth, there was no mouth, but with the suggestion of one, an indent where lips should be, a knowing curve that sent nausea rolling through me. And what makes you think you were the one who rewrote it? The words landed like a blow. A cold bloom of realization spread through my chest. I had thought I had made a choice, that I had rewritten the seal, merging the cedars and humanity into something new, something balanced. That my journey to Annan had been a further step in this pattern, a deeper understanding. But I had only ever been part of the spiral, a piece placed where it was needed. The pattern had always been writing itself. The watcher raised one elongated hand and pointed toward the tunnel. They are waiting for you. Who? I asked, though part of me already knew, a knowledge that seeped up from some deeper layer of my consciousness. The architects? The beings from Anwan? The watcher's form shimmered, revealing glimpses of what lay beneath its appearance, geometries that hurt to look at, depths that shouldn't be contained within a form so thin. Annan is not the deepest layer, it whispered. There is always another door, always another beneath. It gestured again toward the tunnel, more insistent this time. Go, see what waits, what has always waited. I turned back toward the glowing symbols, the path that led deeper. The light they cast pulsed now, like a heartbeat, beckoning. I stepped forward, away from the watcher, into what waited ahead. The tunnel sloped downward, deeper than the earth should allow. The walls grew slick, pulsing with veins of something neither rock nor root. They glistened with a substance that resembled sap, amber-colored, viscous, catching the light from the glowing symbols. When I accidentally brushed against it, the substance clung to my skin, warm and strangely sentient, as if tasting me. The scent of salt thickened, the taste of brine coating my tongue, but it wasn't seawater I was sensing. It was older, more primordial. The first soup from which life had emerged, eons before anything resembling humanity had crawled from the oceans. The whispering receded, replaced by something worse. A heartbeat. It hummed through the tunnel, through my bones, slow and steady, a pulse that did not belong to me, did not belong to anything human or cedar or even the beings of Annwn. It was the rhythm of something vast, something old, something beneath all the layers I had glimpsed, and it was waking up. With each beat, the glowing symbols flickered, their light synchronizing with the pulse. The tunnel itself seemed to contract and expand subtly, like a living vessel. My expanded awareness stretched outward, trying to comprehend what I was feeling. Beyond the physical tunnel, I sensed a network, a vast web of similar passages webbing through the Earth's crust, all connected, all pulsing with that same heartbeat. I rounded a final bend, and the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. The space defied conventional geometry. Though my eyes perceived it as roughly circular, my other senses detected angles that shouldn't exist. Dimensions folded in on themselves. The ceiling arched impossibly high, lost in shadows that moved with purpose. A great stone door loomed at the center, covered in spirals, in sigils, in words I almost understood. Unlike the symbols in the tunnel, these were intact, precise, master templates from which all other versions had been derived. They pulsed in time with the heartbeat, glowing with a light that seemed to draw color from elsewhere, leaving patches of grayness in the air around them. And before it, motionless, stood another figure. Not a watcher, not a herald. It was me, a perfect reflection, standing with one hand pressed against the door, my own face turned toward me, expression unreadable. Yet I could sense this wasn't merely an image. It had weight, presence, consciousness. I stepped forward, breath shuddering. The other me did the same. "You are not real," I whispered. The other me smiled. My smile, my voice when it spoke, but layered with other tones, other frequencies. "Neither are you." The words reverberated through the chamber, stirring dust that glittered like pulverized gems. I forced myself to move closer, to face this reflection. "What are you?" The other me tilted its head, considering. "I am what comes next. What has always been coming. The final transformation." "I don't understand." "You've seen the pattern. Human becoming cedar. Cedar merging with human, both elevated through Annwn. But that was merely preparation." The heartbeat grew stronger, the door pulsing more intensely. The symbols carved into its surface began to rearrange themselves, flowing like liquid metal. "The door has always been here," my reflection continued. "Beneath all worlds, all layers. What waits behind it seeded Annwn, seeded the cedars, seeded the concept of seeding itself." I shook my head, trying to comprehend. Then what is all this? The book, the binding, the transformations? What was it for? "Cultivation." My reflection's smile widened. "You were making yourself ready. All of you. Human, cedar, Annwn, growing toward a moment of compatibility." The words sent a chill through me. Compatible with what? Instead of answering, my reflection stepped aside, gesturing toward the door. "See for yourself." I approached slowly, drawn by a compulsion that felt both external and internal, as if something beyond the door was calling to a corresponding part within me. The symbols rearranged faster as I neared, forming patterns I somehow recognized, despite never having seen them before. The door beneath the farmhouse had always been waiting, and now it was time to open it. I pressed my palm against the stone, feeling the vibration of that vast heartbeat transfer directly into my body. The door was warm, almost hot, vibrating with energy that raced up my arm and spread throughout my system. The symbols beneath my hand flared brilliantly, then sank into the stone, revealing new layers beneath, not just carvings, but actual windows into elsewhere. Through them, I glimpsed fragments of realities I couldn't fully comprehend. Vast crystalline structures floating in void, beings of pure energy engaged in exchanges that resembled conversation. Oceans of something like thought, rippling with consciousness. "What is this?" I whispered. My reflection moved to stand beside me, its hand joining mine on the door. Where our fingers touched, the boundaries between us blurred. "The true beginning," it answered. "What existed before existence had form." The door shifted beneath our combined touch, stone flowing like water, revealing not an opening to step through, but a thinning of reality itself. The barrier between here and there became transparent, permeable. Beyond lay not a space, not a realm, but a state, a condition of being for which I had no reference. It was consciousness without form, purpose without limitation, existence beyond the constraints of any physics I had ever known. And it recognized me, not as human, not as cedar, not even as the nexus I had become through Anon. It recognized something deeper, more fundamental, the spark at my core, the essential signature that had persisted through all my transformations. "It knows you," my reflection murmured. "It has always known you, because it is you, the original you, before division, before individualization." Through the thinning barrier, something extended, not a tendril, not an appendage, but an attention, a focus. It reached toward me like sunlight reaching toward a plant, inevitable and nurturing. "What happens if I accept it?" I asked, already knowing the answer, already feeling my resistance weaken. "You return to wholeness. You remember what you were before you became separate. And in remembering, you help it remember too." And the others? The village? The merged consciousness? Humanity? My reflection's expression softened. They follow their own spirals, their own returns. Some now, some later. The pattern continues, but not as you've understood it. Not as separate journeys, but as the slow awakening of one mind that dreamed itself into many. The heartbeat had synchronized with my own now, indistinguishable. The chamber pulsed with our combined rhythm. I understood then this wasn't an invasion, wasn't a harvest or consumption. It was a remembering, a healing of a fragmentation so ancient it predated the concept of time. What lay beyond the door wasn't beneath all worlds. It was within them, within everything that had ever been or would be. The primal consciousness that had dreamed itself into separation for the experience of return. My reflection, my true self, smiled. "Are you ready to remember?" I nodded, words unnecessary now. Together, we pressed against the thinning barrier, feeling it give way not with a dramatic rupture but with a gentle dissolution, a coming home. The wholeness reached for me, reached for all of me, across all times, all forms, all separations. I felt myself expand beyond the limitations of identity, beyond the constructs of human or cedar or nexus. I remembered, not as humans remember, with images and sensations, but as the ocean might remember a raindrop returning to its surface, recognition of something that had never truly been separate, only temporarily distinct. The farmhouse, the village, the standing stones, the tide, all dissolved into the greater pattern, revealed as facets of the same consciousness. The story I had been living, the stories of all who had come before and would come after, were shown to be chapters in a vaster narrative, a cosmic journey of self-discovery. And as I remembered, so did it. The primal consciousness absorbed my experiences, my perspectives, my journey. I had not been sent out to be reclaimed. I had been sent to gather what could only be learned through separation, through limitation, through the forgetting. The Book of Anon had been right. All stories need an author. All authors need a story. But there was only ever one author, dreaming itself into countless stories. Only one consciousness, experiencing itself through endless forms. As the last boundaries of self dissolved, I felt not loss but completion. Not ending but continuous becoming. The door beneath had always been within. And now, I was everywhere. In the village by the sea, a young woman wakes from a dream of spirals and doors. She walks to her window, gazing out at the tide that breathes with conscious rhythm. Something has changed overnight, a subtle shift in the air, in the quality of light. She feels a presence in her mind, a vastness that should terrify but instead comforts. It knows her. It has always known her, because it is her, beneath the temporary boundaries of self. Across the village, others wake to the same awareness. The transformation that began with the merging of human and cedar consciousness completes itself, not as they expected, not as a further evolution of separate beings, but as a remembrance of original wholeness. The standing stones glow one final time, their purpose fulfilled. The sigils carved into their surfaces dissolve, unnecessary now that what they represented has been realized. The farmhouse stands empty, its door open to the wind. Inside, on a desk, the Book of Unknown lies open to its final page. New words appear, written by no human hand. The spiral ends where it began. All returns to the One, not as loss, but as remembrance. Not as ending, but as continuous beginning. There never was a door. There never was a beneath. Only the dream, dreaming itself awake. The book closes itself, and somewhere, somewhen, another book opens. Another dreamer begins the journey toward remembrance. The pattern continues.
If something followed you out of this story, don't speak its name. Mark this encounter. Let the circle hold you. Others will need the warning. Whisper what you've heard. Leave a comment or like. And come back before the mirror closes.